In the past days, family, I've been giving you the history and the struggles and the war, the battles, the confusion, the divisions that have been happening between the War Veterans Association and the Second Republic. I think I've done quite a number of shows, I think up to 3 or 4 now that I have done. If you have been following all these shows, you are very, very up to date with what is happening right within the country. So right now, the War Veterans Association resolved to operate independent of the ruling party. This is an issue that is very, very sensitive. Remember, we have been talking about this very conference that was happening yesterday, where these guys were talking about wanting to come up with their own structures, wanting to be also observed, wanting to be also involved, and quite a lot of that has been happening. So right now, the resolution that has finally come up with the War Veterans Association is that they want to exactly form their own independent entity, and they would want to operate as an independent entity. And this is a bad sign for Emerson Mnangagwa and ZANU-PF. It is not a good sign at all. It is showing that there is something very, very wrong. And I think it's a good move for the war veterans. For them to move away from ZANU-PF, they need to start doing things independently, because the war veterans are not supposed to be just war veterans for the party or for ZANU-PF. They are supposed to be war veterans of Zimbabwe. They fought for Zimbabwe. They did not fight for a party. So this is a move that would see them, being able to challenge the status quo and whatever things that are happening. And I think it's a little bit too late. This thing should have been done long back. These people should have disassociated themselves from ZANU-PF so that they can be able to criticize ZANU-PF openly without, being hoodwinked into party politics and being, ZANU-PF playing the party card upon them. This is why they could not stand for what is right. This is why they failed to stand for their own rights, because they would still be reminded that, remember, comrades, we are one. So their association has been taken and put under the armpits by ZANU-PF, Robert Mugabe, and Emerson Mnangagwa, to the point that they could not stand their ground to also speak about themselves, to also challenge whatever that is happening, and they've been sidelined for a very, very long time. I was explaining that in this Second Republic, it has been worse than what it was during the time of Robert Mugabe, because these guys are not able to stand. So war veterans, we are speaking to you as the change champions. We are saying you really need to move away from ZANU-PF politics and ZANU-PF affiliation. Stand your right, stand on your own, so that you can be able to challenge whatever that they are doing without being victimized on party lines. You really need to stand your ground, come up with your own independent association like you have done, so that you can also be able to be represented and your voice can be heard, and you can be able to challenge the government of the day on affairs that are affecting you. Fortunately and unfortunately, this has not been happening for a very long time, but now this must start. The association must start to be preparing for the new Great Zimbabwe. I think the new Great Zimbabwe really has to appreciate the War Veterans Association, only the original one, the real one, not these fake ones that are just mushrooming these days. These days, we are seeing a lot of them mushrooming. So I would want us to just hear what Douglas Mahia finally had to say about the situation of them standing on their own. And this is going to really help quite a lot. It's going to save them a lot, and very good for them. Studio 7, just to acknowledge them, they said War Veterans Association Secretary Douglas Mahia told War Veterans League National Assembly meeting that war veterans are in the process of forming their own non-governmental organization to counter rogue NGOs. ZANU-PF has been disrupting PVO bills hearings, right? So here, I know that they could have said it in a political manner, in a political way, where they are saying to challenge rogue NGOs, but they themselves will have already become non-governmental organization, which means they are going to be operating on their own and being
able. We strongly support the ongoing process to enact the Private Voluntary Organization Amendment Bill, as it will go a long way to neutralize rogue NGOs. We recommend for the formation and resourcing of pro-ZANU-PF non-governmental organizations in order to counter rogue NGOs sponsored by the West. We are already in the process, Comrade President, to have our own NGO, possibly in 3 months' time or 2 months' time.
Right.
Related to the above.
Talking about this is exactly what has been happening, because the pressure that is right inside the association. Remember, this association is in two groups. There are splits that are right inside the association itself. When you heard the story of Chris Muchangwa, where they were rejecting Chris Muchangwa, there was a group that was also pro Chris Muchangwa and one group that was not. You remember Douglas Mahia was one of those people that were making very much noise against the Chris Muchangwa, because this man is the man who was supposed to have been elevated, but MNANGAGWA did not allow that to happen. So there is a lot of gimmick that they are playing here. The moment that they come in, they would want to come in as a non-governmental organization that is pro ZANU-PF, but the whole idea is a secret here, where they would want to stand on their own without the influences of ZANU-PF. So the pressure is coming from right inside, although they would want to present it as an organization that is going to be pro ZANU-PF. So there is quite a lot of hide and seek that is happening there. You will see where we are going. You will find that the moment they form this, you will start to hear voices now separating, where there's going to be a voice that will be speaking pro MNANGAGWA and a voice that will be demanding standing on their own. This is exactly what it is coming to. Remember, I mentioned in the past shows that there was that other group that came up and they started to disown Chris Muchangwa. They disowned his position, and they said that they've been oppressed for too long, and they wanted to make sure that their grievances reach the top, because the people that were at the top were complicit with ZANU-PF, were complicit with MNANGAGWA, and we're not taking the cries of the war veterans to where it was supposed to be. So these guys should have done this long back. You know, the right thing that was supposed to happen was this association was never supposed to be partisan. It was supposed to stand on its own. They were supposed to speak as veterans that liberated Zimbabwe and not attached to any party whatsoever, so that they could be able now to, challenge the status quo, challenge the decisions that were made right from inside ZANU-PF. But because they were just being called, no, comrades, Pachedu, they've been oppressed for very, very long. Now you see that almost every member, 3/4 of them, members of the War Veterans Association, they are dying poor, they are living a pauper's life, their children have nothing, they don't have insurance, health insurance, education insurance, their children are failing to go to school, all like themselves on their own. You look at them, you feel pathetic, they look pathetic because of what has happened. If they had not been, encircled by ZANU-PF within its politics, they could have had a stronger voice to speak on behalf of themselves and their welfare. Well, it is a bit too late when I look at it, but let's see how far it is going to go. But the pressure is continuing to mount. And the group that is pushing for them to stand on their own is also the same group that is resisting Emmerson Mnangagwa's 2030 agenda. This is why he is coming there and starting again to use the old tactics of promising them things that they've always said over and over, but were never fulfilled. So let's continue watching to see what is going to be happening, family, because the pressure is mounting. The war is still rising. We will see what eventually is going to happen. But I see the groups eventually getting to split, and we will have one War Veterans Association that will be independent, that will be standing on its own feet, and another one that will be probably ZANU-PF and MNANGAGWA. But that one is likely to be the smaller group. And most of the people are really very fed up with the ZANU-PF and what they've done in the past. So this is just an update of the occurrences that have been happening as we were following this issue of the ZANU-PF and the War Veterans Association Congress, which a lot of Marakashi were painting and putting lipstick on so that it looks like it was just an ordinary, peaceful and good thing. Yet this was a big war that MNANGAGWA is fighting to try and win this association back, while they are resisting him and resisting his plans to extend his term. So this is what we are seeing happening. But let us continue to pray for our country. Let's continue to put pressure. Let's continue to stand and intercede and continue to organize ourselves into a formidable force that will continue to put pressure on Emmerson Mnangagwa, for there is too much pressure already surrounding him, and very, very soon something is going to give. The freedom of the Zimbabwean people is not very far. We will not tire. We will continue to fight on, soldier on, until victory is certain. Remember to subscribe to the channel, to like and share. I said we are crossing over to the main channel in the last show, forgetting that there was still one show that was still on. But I think this is the last show on this platform, we are now going to the main channel where we are going to be talking about many other issues that are affecting the nation. Remain focused, remain there. Don't move away. We are coming back on the main platform, Chatufa Television Production. Love you, remain blessed.